Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining, friend. Whether you're watching this live or you're going to watch the playback, either way, I'm grateful to have you. Very, very grateful to have you. And today, what we're talking about is unlocking your vision and your values. This is so important. This is so important because before you start anything, my husband said this on when we went live the other night. But before you start anything, you need to know exactly why you're doing it. And your why can make or break whether or not you're going to be successful at that thing, simply because you're going to be constantly reminded of what that why is. Or whether or not you have a why. For instance, sometimes I see people that do things and I'm just like, okay, what's the purpose of this? And is the purpose just to get attention? Now, look, if you want attention, that's great. But for what purpose? What is this going to point towards? Who is this going to help? And if it's just to heal a part of yourself, if it's just to heal a part of yourself that hurts, then that attention is going to end up hurting you in the long run, friend. It's going to end up hurting you. So before you start anything, and I'm pulling up my notes here because they dropped. Before you start anything, you need to understand, why is it that you're doing that thing? Why? Why does this make sense? Why? And your purpose is going to connect your why and your reason why you're going to overcome the challenges. Your purpose is going to connect your why and the reason why it's important for you to overcome the challenges. And what this does is this empowers you and motivates you at times where you just feel like quitting. And so, have you ever done something and you're like, you thought that that thing was because you wanted the money? You thought that thing was because it was, the end thing. You wanted the notoriety. You thought that it was because for whatever shallow reason, or whatever, I call it a copycat reason that we create for that thing. You thought that was so important. And you thought that was so important until the challenges came and you realized, I don't even care about that. I will let all of this burn down. Have you ever been in a situation where you thought, like, you know what? All I want is a six-figure job. All I want is so-and-so title. All I want is this. All I want is that. Just to get into it. And you're like, oh, y'all can have all of this. Because when those challenges start coming at you and life starts swinging at you, you're going to be like, look, friend, y'all can have this job. You can have this title. You can have this man. You can have this everything. You can have this house. You can have the clothes in my closet. You can have all of this. You can have this relationship. You can have all of this, because ain't none of it worth it. None of it worth it. And that is hello. And so that is the reason why you have to really connect with your vision. You've really got to discover, your purpose and the why you're doing everything. Otherwise, the challenges, they're just going to overshadow your perceived results. And so the second side to what we're going to do today is we're also going to help you to discover your values. So the vision is why I'm doing this. Like, why does this make sense? or sometimes you're like, this don't make sense at all. I'm spending hours and hours and hours doing this thing that points to nothing. Your values say how. So the vision is why I'm doing this. Your values are indicative of how you're going to do it. So, for instance, someone can say, look, I'm going to be a famous singer. Okay, but how are you going to get there? Because if you do anything that compromises your values, it's always worth less in the long run. Because maybe, let's say you're, and we're seeing this now, right? Where you're like, look, I want to do this thing. And as a result, maybe you have a good 10-year run, but you're going to spend the next 40 years in therapy and in life trying to undo the thing that you thought was so great, but it forced you to compromise your values. And we're going to get into that later. Okay. Now, this is what happens when you don't establish your values and vision. The first thing is the road will get way too overwhelming for you. It'll just get too overwhelming. You'll be ready to be done with this thing as soon as Look, as soon as your bank account goes down, you can be like, no more. It just gets too overwhelming. And this is important because everything that you're doing, everything that you want to do is going to require consistency. It's going to require consistency and effort. And consistency and effort doesn't just come because you're just a hard knock. No, consistency and effort comes because the thing that you're doing and the reason you're doing it overshadows the day-to-day issues. So your why makes you disciplined in an area in which you would normally not be disciplined in, if that makes sense. So you want to make sure that you're just being disciplined and you're doing your thing, but you have to understand that why. The second thing that it's going to do for you is you'll be able to promote what you're doing because everyone will understand your why, and they'll understand why that this path makes sense for you. They'll understand why it makes sense for you. And the second thing is, if you don't establish your vision and you don't understand and you don't establish your values, you're going to end up compromising that in the end. You will absolutely end up compromising yourself, compromising your values. And let me tell you, a couple of different things can happen when one compromises their values. The first thing that can happen is something that's unlikely to happen, which is nothing. Right? But people compromising their values have, and I've seen this, don't think that this doesn't happen in corporate America, has landed them in jail. People compromising their values have ended up, putting them on someone's long Reddit post. Y'all ever read those Reddit posts and you're like, y'all, right? And sometimes when I'm thinking about like whether or not, like, I don't want to be in anyone's YouTube rant. I don't want to be the next trending YouTube just because I compromise my values. Don't do that. And y'all, if you're watching this and you like the content, please share it with someone. Go ahead, post it to your page, send it to some friends, what have you, because we're not going to just complain about the things of the world. We're going to help people heal and help people get on their path to where, the 2% has the 2% because the 98% we're distracted. So, but that's going to change today. So, and I can even think of, when you're thinking about your why, I can think of at least 2 or 3 times in my life, look, including in the past year, where I was like, you know what? I'll let all of this burn down if that means I get an opportunity to live fully and authentically. And I believe that most self-respecting people and people who love themselves get to that point to where they're like, you know what, forget all of this. None of this makes sense. None of this resonates with me. None of it. And so I'm going to start today with just two very, very, very important scriptures. The first one is the one I'm always talking about, Proverbs 29. Write the vision and make it plain so that all who read it may run with it. Meaning, you know what you're doing and they know what you're doing. Everybody who's watching this thing, everyone who's observing you, this whole thing makes sense, right? Have you ever worked in a place to where there was no vision, there was no instruction, and they're wondering why things weren't getting done? Because everyone who came into that place, they weren't quite aware of what all they were trying to accomplish there. They knew their job, but that everyone being in sync, everyone doing their thing, that was completely missing. And that's what happens when you don't do that. The second one is understanding that for every single person watching this, God absolutely has a plan for your life. And your vision oftentimes is the seed form and those little snippets and those little views of, hey, this is what I actually created you to do. That thing you keep seeing, that thing you keep dreaming about, it's not a dream. Like, this is what I wanted you to do. There's just been so many detours. You went over here and suddenly, you got lost here. And then you were like, oh, I see people here doing this. Let me go and spend 12 years in school doing this one thing that you really didn't want to do. But it was like, oh, society said this is a good thing to do. And then you went and you did this, you did that. And all of these different detours happen to where, maybe provision for you is I'm just not saying this specifically, but was it like a prophetic California and you somewhere in New York? And your vision is saying, look, we need you to get on the path back to California. I'm going to help you along the way, and it's going to be good. And so the second side is, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for prosperity and not for disaster. And it's to give you a future and a hope. That's Jeremiah 29. So if you feel like you're running out of hope, you feel like, look, I don't feel like I have a future, most of the time that means in some form or fashion, you have gotten off of God's plan for your life. So now we want to go through the elements of what it takes to have a successful vision. So the first thing is, a successful vision is going to be consistent with the nature of God and how he sees you. So this is the part that's a little scary, because oftentimes we have this vision of ourselves, and it's the vision that someone else provided for us. It's what your mama saw in you, and most of the time it was what they wanted for themselves that they never accomplished. So they're like, you're going to be a lawyer. No, mama, you wanted to be a lawyer. Why don't you go back to school? Why don't you become a lawyer? You can go and take the bar exam at 60. That's fine. Ain't nobody, look, people are living longer. And I'm going to put that in the atmosphere. All of us are going to live longer. And even if you get to practice for 10 years, 10 years is still 10 years. So sometimes the vision that we have and that we'll see, it'll feel so foreign to us because it's the vision that God has for us. It's the vision of what his nature is like and how he sees us. And oftentimes that vision is in direct conflict. It's in direct conflict with how we see ourselves. And y'all, if you're liking this, please share it. Please like it. Do all of those things so we can get people in here seeing it, doing the thing, comment, do all of that stuff. The second thing too about the vision and how it can be, how it's consistent with the nature of God and how he sees you, is the fact that oftentimes the way he sees us is such a far cry from how we see ourselves. And most of the way that we see ourselves are just based on these idols that we've had, or these archetypes that we see in society. And when who we are and what we look like and our essence is in conflict with these archetypes, a lot of times instead of saying they're wrong, we'll say we're wrong. I remember a long time ago, there was a peer. Well, I guess this person at the time was not a peer. This is actually a higher up of mine. And I was recruiting at the time. And I remember this person said, hey, professional people don't have locks. And I was sitting there like, are you kidding me? and even this person even went as far as to say like, oh, you'll never meet an attorney with locks. Now, this was over 10 years ago, old school, but this mindset still exists. Now, imagine if you were someone on the other end of that just saw this powerful person, with a title and with, great income and something that other people say and go to for advice and for direction and things of that nature. And this person says, oh, successful people don't have locks. You may turn around and either say, look, I guess I got to be, whatever it is forever because I'm not cutting my hair. Or you'll be the person that's going to say, okay, well, I guess I have to cut my hair. And it's not like, that's one part, like that's important, but not as big as when you think about your personal character traits, your personal characteristics, where you're from, your socioeconomic background, things like that. Because, look, we live in a day where everyone's hair is different every single day. So I don't know, that's still a thing, but we could switch it up like that, honey. We can get everything that we need to for that like this. So, but imagine when people in those positions speak into your life like that, to where eventually you start seeing yourself like that. Like, no, I'm not one of them. And almost in like in just a negative way, when really you are. So a successful vision is consistent with the nature of God and how he sees you. Now, the reason I say it's consistent with the nature of God, meaning a successful vision doesn't require you to cheat people. A successful vision doesn't require for you to take advantage of the poor. A successful vision will not require you to you know, terrify a neighborhood or, pollute a neighborhood or anything like that. So it needs to be consistent with the nature of God and how he sees you. And sometimes what that will do will scare us because how we see ourselves is just so low. Number two, this is the second successful element of a vision. A successful element of a vision will also supersede society's definitions and statistics. Sometimes we'll look at something and they'll say, well, only 2% of the population is ever going to be a billionaire. Well, if God is giving you a dream that you're going to be one of them, then who cares? So you're looking around and you're like, 2% of the population, that's real low. What's the likelihood? Then you start playing, odds and you start playing roulette with your, with your life. You're like, oh, the odds are against me. Let me not even try. So a really, 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 really good vision, all right, is going to supersede society's definitions and society's statistics. Now, I remember one of my math teachers told me this thing is like there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Why? Statistics are not completely accurate. Statistics are not facts. Okay? A statistic is just something that where they just gather a pool of people, and based on this pool of people, here's the data. And so if you base your life based on society's statistics and definitions, you'll never accomplish your vision. Why? Because in most societies, they're thinking of ways to getting everyone in line with their vision for that society. And that may not always be the benefit for you. Someone else's vision for society may not always be a benefit to you. That may not be the thing that God's put into you. So you got to be really, really careful. So a great vision will cause you to supersede that. And a really great example of that is Sarah. God tells Sarah, look, you're going to give birth to a nation. You're going to have a baby. And she's like, do you know how old I am? Do you know how long ago this well has dried up, friend? She was looking at the statistics. But he was giving her a vision. And so sometimes we receive visions all the time, but we throw them away because we look at the statistics. We look at the odds. We're like, oh, well, this number of businesses fail, or only this amount of people make it through past the bar, or only this amount of people. Look, the divorce rate is so high. This and this and this and that. Don't let the statistic keep you away from your dream. Number three, another element of a successful vision will require you to be full of faith. Meaning that vision is going to scare you. Right? And really, being full of faith means that something is really big and it's big enough to scare you, but you just have the confidence that things are going to work out. You just have the confidence that things are going to work out. You don't know how, you don't know who, you don't know why, you don't know any of those things, but you're like, you know what? I think I can make this thing happen. And another element of a successful vision is that they're honest. It's what you really want. It's what you really want. Sometimes you'll sit there and you'll create this plan, this goal, and I've seen it all the time. I have worked with so many people that create goals based on what they feel should be their goal and what other people have said should be their goal, and not actually something that resonates with them. And then they wonder why they can't be early to their business. Why they're demotivated, why they can't find the energy, why they can't do anything, because they're not being honest with themselves about what they want. And that thing that you want will always be the thing that drives you. Another successful element of a vision is, and how you know it's a vision, is that it's going to require others. If you can do it all by yourself, it's not a vision. Like, even as I was writing this, even as I was recapping, some of my past visions, going through my own vision course again, I'm sitting here like, okay, I'm putting it out here. I need an assistant. I need help building this thing out. and continuing to just take this thing to the next level, right? The other thing too about it is your vision in some form or fashion will be a blessing to others. The thing that you want, your lifestyle and the path of getting there, is still going to be a blessing to others. And last week I just did a teaching on influence and impact, and this is a part of that. What the thing that you want is not just for you. Another reason why you have to pursue it is that it's going to take that other person to the next level. And the people around you, whether it's your family, it's your community, whether it's other businesses. Some businesses thrive because another business has thrived. Sometimes you accomplishing your goal will allow someone else to be a vendor of yours. And being a vendor to $1 billion company means that you're running $1 million company. So you just have to know that that's a part of it, right? Another thing, and this still goes into the requiring others portion of successful elements of a vision, is that a great vision always resurrects something. It always resurrects something in a person. It always resurrects something in a community, within a family, within an organization. Like, it's just like a little spark that lights, that just takes things to the next level. So a great vision will always resurrect something. And it just brings some water to some dry bones. And that could even be in your family, in your marriage. If you feel like your marriage needs some spark, it needs another light, it probably just needs a new vision, a new way of looking at it, and just a fresh start. And this is the last part too. A successful vision will require you, a successful vision will require you to increase your vulnerability. It's going to force you to show parts of yourself that you don't show to anyone else. That's just the case. Like, there's going to be someone somewhere doing something that is going to see you. You're going to be like, oh, is that the real you, friend? Is that, we finally getting to see the real you? And that's what a successful vision does. All right. So what is vision? A vision is just what you see when your eyes are open. A dream is, when you're asleep and you see this. And sometimes I have dreams that will indicate what's going on and things that I need to incorporate in my vision. But a successful vision is what you see when your eyes are open. And the second definition of this is, vision is the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. That's it. It's your way of thinking about the future with imagination or wisdom. So that means that a strong vision doesn't mean that it's something that's right in front of you already. Something that's right in front of you already, within reach, that's a goal. That's not a vision. Now, a vision is going to have components of that vision, which is a part of the plan, which will have goals set up in between it. But if it's right in front of you, it's a goal. Like, losing 10 pounds is not a vision. Any of us watching this can lose 10 pounds this month if we really wanted to, or within the next 2 months. That's not a vision. That's not going to be something that you're going to have to continue to pour and pour and pour and pour into. All right. So I'm going to walk you through the steps of having a strong vision so you can plan your life based on your vision, and not based on fear, and not based on just trying to survive. So this is how you prepare your mind. And this is what I want to do. I want to help you prepare your mind to develop a vision, because you have to be in a really, really good place to develop a vision. So the first thing you have to do is you got to eliminate your fear. You cannot be afraid. You cannot be afraid of everything. And that's part of like the enemy and the powers that be that aren't so nice and aren't the greatest people in the world. That's part of their plan, is to get you so afraid that you'll never go and do that thing. They want to keep you down here. That's how they're able to keep such a large piece of the pie is as long as you stay down here, you're not going to you're not going to bite off a big enough piece to make a difference. So you have to eliminate your fear. You've been through stuff before, and guess what? Life comes with suffering and challenges, but humans are created in order to overcome challenges. So you just can't be afraid. You can't be afraid. You got to put your big girl and your big boy panties on and just do this thing. And don't worry, you're going to work it out. Number 2, you have to eliminate distractions. Distractions are the things that probably shouldn't be in your space anyway, or unresolved conflict. And conflict in your life, what it does is it just kind of puts this veil and this shade over your vision to where it's like, it just makes it to where it's really hard to see because this thing is just always right in front of you. And for some of you, it might just be the phone, right? So you have to eliminate distractions and you have to eliminate conflict. And it's because the only thing you're thinking about is that thing. So resolve it, accept it, or eliminate it so you can move forward. And it's very, very difficult to get the creative energy. And for some of y'all, it's just the energy in general. Some of y'all don't have any energy to do anything because of the amount of conflict that you have around you. And this is definitely for someone. It's not about being right or being wrong. Okay? It's not about being right or being wrong. Sometimes it's just about getting what you need, right? Like, I'm not worried about being right. I'm not worried about being wrong. I'm just thinking, what's the best thing for this situation? And what do I need to do to put this situation in its best place? That's it. The moment you get in the battles of right and wrong, just know that that distraction is just going to balloon. It's going to balloon. I'm glad you have this picture in your office. Number 3, mind your business. You cannot prepare yourself to do a vision casting session with yourself and to really pull that vision out of you, because that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to help you pull this vision out of you. Is you can't be minding everybody else's business. You can't have a vision for your marriage worried about somebody else's. You can't have a vision for your business and you already always up in somebody else's business. You can't have a vision for your family and you're constantly involved in someone else's family conflict. You got to mind your business. You got to get in a place of stillness. Why? Because when God gives you a vision, he gave you the vision for you to execute. And he's giving you this vision for you to lead. So how you going to drive your car and you're constantly in the passenger seat driving somebody else's, being the backseat driver in someone else's life. All right. And this is something that I had to look at in my life and that we're going to get into that, which is oversharing your vision, because your vision in the beginning stages is between you and God and the people that are involved. Period. All right. But, one of the things that I've had to really relinquish and give this part of my life to God is just not having a savior complex. Like, there's only one savior. So my job is to impart. My job is not to push the car for you. And that's part of minding your business. And sometimes it's just to impart the wisdom and to give someone the direction, but you can't push the car for them, because if you're pushing their car, who's driving yours? And their car don't even have any gas in it. And you can't give them the gas. God got to give them the gas. They got to fill their own tank and decide what kind of gas they're going to put into it. So you have to mind your own business. And y'all, please like this and share this, because, healing comes as a community. And we're not going to just gatekeep. Number 4, you got to forgive yourself before you can develop a vision. And I've noted, and the reason I put this in here is there's been times where I've sat down with incredible leaders, incredible people, and I figure out the reason why they haven't developed this vision is they haven't forgiven themselves for what happened before. Whatever happened the last time you started the business, whatever happened in your last marriage, whatever happened in your last relationship, whatever happened with the last child, with the last whatever, right? You have to forgive yourself. In a business standpoint, many entrepreneurs start 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 businesses before they figure it out. And sometimes the failure, I'm not going to say sometimes, most of the time, failures in life is just a part of the learning process. And you fail at everything before you become successful at it. You failed at walking before you learn how to walk. If you've ever watched a child go through the process of taking their first steps, the first however long it takes them, they're always falling down. So you have to take it and you have to move forward and do your thing. And so just let it go. Don't judge it. Don't shame yourself about it forever. Let it go. Sometimes, and remember, a vision is for a season. So especially specific visions are for a season. So if you have a vision for this season, but you're still living 12 seasons in the past, you're going to miss this one. And it's going to be another season and another cycle, that passes you. And then guess what? You got to sit down until the next one comes. So y'all continue to tap the screen. Please share this with at least 5 people. Put it on your Facebook page. Put it on Instagram, whatever it is that you need to do. Thank you guys so much. I'm really appreciating the love. I'm trying to just watch this and I don't get too distracted. And then number 5, I've said this already, but I'm saying it again because this gets in the way. And I've seen it happen all the time. There's been times where I'll look at someone and I already know what they're about to say. God will show me, and this is why this is a secret of mine and why I've been successful as a coach, is God will show me this person's potential. And he'll literally give me like a picture of who they are, where they're going to be. And I think that's also why I got caught up pushing cars for people, is because I'll have such a strong picture of what this person can become, what God has for them, that I'll mistakenly end up pushing them into that like this, because I'm like, this is so real. This is so real. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. And really what it was really just supposed to be something that showed me, okay, this is what this person can do, impart this into them so they can drive their car. So, and even forgiving myself for that. And so you have to forget the statistics and you have to forget everything else. Whatever that vision is, whatever he drops in your spirit, that's what it is. Like I said before, right? Over investing. Like I said before, God told Sarah, look, you're going to have a baby. And she's like, do you know how old I am? According to my medical encyclopedia, there was no medical encyclopedias then, but I'm just taking this. This is like, I'll read it and then I translate stuff into real world time. Like when I went on and I Googled this, it said women start going through menopause at 50. So, woo, 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 woo. Like this can't happen. And y'all look, there's what the Google says, and then there's what God says. I'm gonna tell you, my grandma had her last at 49. And my mama said the only reason she didn't keep going was because my granddaddy died. Okay. So that's not funny. But what I'm saying is there is what the statistics says and what God says. And if he keeps showing you the same vision, at some point you're going to just have to just hold it. And there's another scripture that goes to this. Is anything too difficult or too wonderful for the Lord? At the appointed time, meaning in this season, or actually it says, when the season for her delivery comes, I will return to you and Sarah will have a son. So basically God is like, try me. Try me. I'm standing on business. When I come back, when the season comes, she gonna have a baby, period. All right. So you have to, like, the key to remember during this portion is that we often find ourselves questioning our vision, whether it's because of distraction, whether it's because of unresolved conflict, Whether it's because you've been in somebody else's business so much that now you're comparing your life to theirs. Everybody getting divorced, everybody doing this. Well, maybe if you weren't on the phone, listening to somebody about their conversation and about their relationship, you wouldn't think that there was no way that a marriage can be successful, right? Suddenly you're just like, well, everybody does this. Everybody sits at home and, everybody's depressed. No, you're just always listening to depressed people, and you always in depressed people business. So now you have secondhand and third-hand depression. For some of y'all, sixth-hand depression, right? You're never too old. So is anything too difficult or wonderful for the Lord? No. And so just remember that your vision is divine. And this is how I know it's divine. When I sit with some of you guys, and for those of you guys who schedule sessions and things like that with me and clients, the things that y'all are thinking of, I'm like, nobody else is thinking of this. This isn't just something that the average person wakes up and does and says, right? Like one guy was like, he came on one of my lives or teaching sessions or something like that. And he's like, I want to own a chain of pizza shops. And I was like, something I've never woken up and said. Never in my life. And so when people have these things and they say these outlandish things, or you have these outlandish thoughts, that's how you know it's divine, because the thing is not even in front of you. That's a vision, not a goal. And so, and your vision it's one of those things that they're so unique to us, and they just resonate with our spirit so much that who else could put it there? And if God put it in you and he gave you the word, he's going to hasten to perform it. Meaning he's going to partner with you to get this thing done. You just can't be so afraid that you never walk the path. You never leave Egypt. Imagine if they would have just never left Egypt. If the Israelites would have never left, they'd still be slaves there to this day. So you don't want to do that. Sometimes, friend, you just have to be willing to leave Egypt to get what you need. And yes, Egypt may be feeding you. Yes, Egypt may have given you a little house. Maybe Egypt allow you to go on vacation for 2 days. Maybe Egypt take you out to dinner sometimes. Maybe Egypt gave you a new title without the money. Maybe Egypt did all of these different things, but it's still not your vision. Okay? So you have to commit to it. And if you love yourself and you care about yourself, and you don't want to wake up one day with the pain of regret. So the pain of failure is, oh man, this went bad. I lost money, Now I'm starting over. That's one kind of pain. The pain of regret is, I never even got a chance to taste it. I never even got a chance to taste it because I didn't start. I don't even know what could have happened. The pain of failure is, I saw what happened. All right, it wasn't a good deal. All right. Or start over. I did this wrong. Next time I'll get a new partner. Next time I'll do this. Next time I'll do that. And then you get a chance to start over and to adjust. But never being able to taste it just because you wouldn't step out on a limb. You just eat the chicken fingers and fries of life, right? Yes, allow God to partner with you, with your plans. Meaning there's times where I'll sit there and I'm like, okay, Lord, I know you put this in me. I don't know where to go. Tell me, what are my first and second steps? I promise you, there's been times where, for instance, this live was something where he was like Wednesdays at 12. And then it was like, go here, do this, do this, do this. And it's just something that comes to your spirit. You're like, okay, that's right. And then next thing you know, things just start coming together. Also, just naturally, you want to have a good partner in what you're doing. Sometimes we have a great vision, but we partner with people that are out of alignment with that vision. And when you choose a partner that's out of alignment with that vision, meaning they just don't quite fit, it's nearly impossible to see that vision through, because remember, a vision is always going to require, and it's always going to involve more people than just you. A goal is something that just benefits you. It's something that you could probably do on your own, or maybe a small team can do. A vision is always going to fit into, and it's going to be for people, and it's going to require more people. So here are the questions. So obviously I'm going quickly. If this is something that you want to do in more depth and we want to talk about more of your individual situation, then you need to join my group. I'm teaching this again at 7, but the way that I teach it is going through it, but also asking specific questions to the people that are in the group and the people that I work with. So that way they get more real life application. And I ask them the questions, I make them answer it, and then we move forward to the next question until by the end we have formulated and we have conquered that thing and accomplished that thing that we came to do. They can take it and apply it to their life until the next one. And if there's something you want to do, we meet every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time online. Click the link in my bio, go to the new luminaries, request to and apply to join the group. There's 5 questions on there, and then we'll go from there. So writing a vision for your life. Also in the group, I give you the workbooks and stuff like that during the call so you can fill it out and have it organized. If you're like me, I have like my little good note stuff and I need to have a written version of everything. That's another piece of advice. Document everything. So the first part of your vision is your personal identity. What are your likes and dislikes? Sometimes, especially in the world of social media, how many of you guys realize that there were things that you started to like just because it was trending, and then when you get in your house, you're like, I don't really like that. I don't even really like that. This was just a thing that I did because everybody else online was doing it, right? So what are your likes and what are your dislikes? What are your strengths and weaknesses? What do you want to own? For instance, if you look online and be like, everyone has to buy a house, da 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 da. You may not want to own a house. Maybe you want a condo. Maybe you want to rent. Maybe you want to live on a boat. I know someone who literally lives on their boat and they are so happy. They go to work, they do everything from their boat, and guess what? And when they're done working, they take that boat out and they sail across, the little, I guess it is the ocean and somewhere like, I don't know enough about water, but anyway, they in Florida somewhere and they just go and they just kind of sail around and fish and, and they are so happy. Okay. And if that's you, let's get it, right? What do you want to accomplish? Describe your dream home. Describe your dream car. Don't watch so many ads that, you think this one thing is your dream car because it's such a status symbol when really you wanted you want an F-150, something that can haul all of your animals and your little mini house and your RV all around, all around the United States. Whatever that is, you define it and you describe it and make sure it's from an authentic place. The second one is companionship. This is really important. Who you choose to grow old with, who you choose to have into your life will absolutely impact the trajectory of your life, the quality of your relationship. So what type of person do you want to grow old with? What is your love language? Is this person able to express love in that love language? What is your communication style or preference? Describe your ideal date night. Describe your ideal date night. Number 3, what about your family? This is all about family. What's going to be your favorite family traditions? Like, one thing I like is getting together with all my extended family, my cousins, all that stuff during the holidays. Describe your family values. What are you going to teach your family? What are you going to teach your kids? Describe your family heritage. What's going to be your family's legacy? What's your family going to be known for? And this is the key too. When you think about your family's legacy, this also goes into companionship, who you choose to marry or whatever. Your family legacy is when you die, how is your family going to talk about you? And how are they going to talk about how you impacted their lives today? Now, no, there's no perfect family. There's absolutely no perfect family. Okay. But when it is your time to kick the bucket, when everyone's in the backyard or at the repast talking and they've had a few, alcohol-free wines, whatever that is, what are they going to say about you 10 years after you're gone? How are they going to describe you and the legacy that you left for them? Number 4, personal growth. What are your educational goals? How do you plan to enrich your life? What books would you like to have read and add to your library? What types of seminars are you going to feel are beneficial? Meaning, you're not the same person. Like, you shouldn't have the same amount of information 10 years from now as you do today, or very little growth. And what I mean is like quality information, not just conspiracy theories or, whatever everyone's talking to at the time, or what I call is like kind of like elevated gossip. Elevated gossip. Like, what kind of concrete information are you going to have? And this is also key too, because on the opposite side, think your vision will demonstrate to you how you should pursue education. Some people are so removed from their vision that they're hundreds of thousands of dollars, $50,000 in debt for a degree that they didn't even end up wanting to pursue that career. They got into it and they're like, man, this really is not for me. And it's because they didn't really take the time to figure out these questions that I'm asking you, to where sometimes you may be putting money into something that you could learn from a mentor, or you can apprentice under, or that you can get real life experience in. And sometimes it's something that you really do need to go into the university and do your thing. So your vision will indicate all of those things. Career. So this is a question to ask yourself. What would you attempt to do if you knew you would never fail? And that's one of the things I want you to think about when it comes to your career. What would you do if you knew you'd never fail? If there was zero chance that you would fail, what would you do? And that's typically the career that you want. Number 6, so important. We don't think about this and we don't cast vision about this. Your network. Describe your ideal friendship, your ideal professional network, your partnerships, who you're aligning yourself with. Like, what's your ideal network like? Are you just falling into certain friendships and certain relationships because of loneliness? Or there's a lot of different types of professional networks. What's the culture in these networks? What are you going to get out of them? Because, getting into the wrong professional network can turn you off to a certain profession when really it was the network. It was the group of people that you involved yourself in that just wasn't out of alignment. Friends and colleagues. What kind of close relationships do you need to develop? Do you have a mastermind group of some sort? Are there people where y'all just get together and think of ideas? What's your support system going to look like? And this is the thing. Oftentimes, your life will deeply, deeply reflect your support system. One of the things, this is how I know, one of the ways that God answers my prayers, especially when I'm asking for alignment and vision in my life, is that there will just be certain people that'll leave my life. Because the people you surround yourself with need to be in alignment with the person you're choosing to be. If you want to be like, hey, I want to be a good husband or wife, and you're aligning yourself with people who are constantly bickering, constantly unfaithful, bring you to all the places it's probably going to have you unfaithful too, all of those things, that's a choice that you're making. And it's a choice that you're making that's in direct conflict with what you want to accomplish. And I like to attack life as though I'm not Superman and Superwoman, meaning I don't have that much strength and power. So what I do is I just stay away from the hornet's nest. I don't try to fight the hornet. I just stay away from the hornet's nest because I might mess around and not have an EpiPen. So do that. Really, really important. Recreation and renewal. We don't even think about like being intentional about how we have fun, how we renew ourselves, how do we pour back into our cup. For instance, for me, I love dancing, I love traveling, anything that's cultural, that involves movement. I like hiking. I like doing things where I can just get out into the world. Okay. So when it comes to renewal, I know that if I haven't done those things in a long time, I'm just going to get dry. My life's just going to get dry, and it's going to be really difficult for me to walk in my purpose, because guess what? All work and no play will kill you. And what recreation and renewal does is it gives you rest, and it gives you playfulness. And it's a different type of rest. Sometimes we think of rest as just like sleeping, but really rest is just taking your mind off of that thing that you've been working on, that thing you've been doing. Number 9, spiritual growth. What steps will you take in order to live more authentically? How are you giving back? How are you connecting with God? And sometimes people are like, I just feel like God left me. No, you left him a long time ago. You became your own God. And let me tell you this too. Sometimes people are like, oh, da 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 da, what's it, da da da, like, and they have all these things or whatever, right? And you might be showing up to a place, you may be going to church or wherever you go, but really your God is whomever you obey. And whomever you obey, when's the last time you've connected with them? For some of y'all, it might be money. And you wonder why you feel like your spirit is drowning, because the only person you obey is money. For some of you, it may be yourself. And you feel like you don't have enough support. Well, I mean, support comes from within and also from outside. So if you're your own God, then you're sitting there, you just got to support yourself. And after a while, when that thing get wobbly, you don't have any other beams. The next one, financial stability. What are your immediate needs when it comes to your finances? What are your immediate goals? Do you have a budget? Do you need to look back at your budget? How do you plan on retiring? How do you plan on saving? How do you plan on investing? What is it? Describe it. Is it non-existent? That's also an area, right? And even looking back at, like, when you're setting up a vision for your finances, it's really like, if you have a picture of your finances, what does that look like? If you were to draw a picture of what your financial life is going to be like, what does it look like? And so for some of you guys who may have a hard time just thinking of these things, you may be someone who needs to actually draw. And when you draw, it connects with like a different part of your brain. Doesn't mean it needs to be art, right? But if you were to draw a picture of what your finances should look like, or what your spiritual life and your spiritual growth would look like, what would be in the drawing? What are you doing? And that's a better way of pulling all of that information out. Next one, health and fitness. Do you have an exercise program? Because you can have all the plans and goals in the world, but when your health gets in the way, that whole thing gets shut down. I was talking to myself and some friends of mine, and no, actually some family members of mine, and we were talking about health problems. I was like, we actually have in our family great bodies and great health. We just have an issue with taking care of them. Like that's been our genetic issue, is taking care of our bodies and not our bodies themselves. Also, I'm going to say that I think, I'm not going to put the statistic out there, but it's really, really high. A very large percentage of our health is more based on our lifestyle. It's more of our lifestyle and environmental factors, meaning like, what are you breathing? What are you exposing yourself to? And also, what are you not exposing yourself to as far as working out, doing this? Do you have a nutritional plan? Do you get enough rest? What do you want that aspect of your life to look like? Because if you don't create a plan for it, most likely it'll be just like everything else that you just put on that list of procrastination. I'll get to it eventually. And the next thing you know, 20 years have passed. 12, personal legacy. How do you want to be remembered? I asked a client of mine this question, and it's been 3 years, and I still haven't gotten an answer for it. Maybe he'll see this and he'll write it out. How do you want to be remembered? Sometimes And we've seen this all the time, to where there's people that did incredible things in their lives, but the other things that weren't so good messed up their legacy. And sometimes people, and I see this all the time, like, y'all are trying to kill this person's legacy. And it's like, no, their behavior killed their legacy. And not being intentional about their behavior is what killed that person's legacy. But every day, and the way that you conduct yourself, you get to decide what your personal legacy is going to be. So how do you want to be remembered? Another part of your personal legacy is, what kind of inheritance do you want to leave your children? What do you want to leave them? It better not be all tears in a bill. Like, how many of us, and I'm not going to include myself with that, but how many of you guys have experienced this, to where the only thing a parent, or you've seen it with your parents, that they got left behind was trauma, which is another bill. It's just a therapy bill. And another part of personal legacy is, how will the world know that you were here? How are they going to know? How are they going to know? Based on what you've done. And your vision will always leave room for that. So again, if you have any questions about that and how to think deeper into that, you can email me, you can send me a DM, or you can join the group, and we'll have more of a discussion about this in a small group, and we'll talk about that. So the second part of this is your values. So the first part is, you want to have a vision, which is, it gives meaning to life. It gives you the whys of your life. Like, hey, I'm doing this for my kids. This is what I want my family life to be like. This is how I want my kids to grow up. I'm doing this because I want my grandkids to be like this. This is, I'm doing this because I want to be able to have the flexibility of living on a boat. I'm doing this because I want to be able to, have the financial flexibility to leave my children an inheritance. I'm doing this because I want my family legacy to be this, or my friendships to be this, or I'm going to this place because these are the types of networks that I know I need to be involved in, and that can help me grow personally and professionally and spiritually and all of those things. This is why I'm doing this. The values comes into how you do it, because you can be really connected with your vision and hook and crook your way into there, to where you end up killing your legacy. And there's people that have done amazing things, but because their values weren't in the right place, it's really hard to see what they've built, because their misplaced values killed their legacy, and that's all that people see. So your values is just your principles and your standards of behavior. And it's also like one's judgment of what's important in life. And let me tell you this, friend. One of the things that will always happen while you're on the road to accomplishing your vision is, someone is always going to test your values. And your values will be tested over and over and over and over and over again. And that's really what's going to determine, just like the really how many detours you're going to take, and how sweet accomplishing that vision is going to be. For instance, we just saw this in the news, and it's really, really sad. I'm sure all of you guys saw the thing that's been all over the news with Cassie, the R&B singer Cassie. And all I could think about was, I remember being in school and like partying with her. I think she had the song Me and You, and it was like a whole vibe. It was an entire era. And I was like, friend, if I knew the compromise that you had to make so that we can have that moment, and for you to have that moment, I would have said, friend, keep it. We can wait. We can wait on it. We didn't have to have it. If I would have known what she had to give up in order to achieve that, girl, you could have had the song. I would have waited until she was good and grown and healthy to listen to that. If I would have known the number of probably her personal values and her family values that had to be compromised in order for her to achieve it. It's never worth it. It's never worth it. Why? I don't care how many people know you. I don't care how much money you make. They're never going to get to feel the pain and the regret that comes when you compromise your values. And as you're growing, and it's hard to do this portion of vision casting while you're already in it. You need to have your vision and your values established before you start, because you'll veer from it like that. And the moment you start something, it's like, hey, I have the ability to do XYZ, start the business, get into film and television, get into IT or whatever. And you'll always be presented with A, B, and C. And company A or opportunity A may have great ideas, great this, but you don't like their values. Maybe they're decimating a community while doing it. Maybe they're not eco-friendly. Maybe they're doing this, or maybe the way they treat their employees just is not it, but it can get you there. Maybe route B, is a little bit less money. You're still going to be on the way of getting there, but your values aren't being compromised. You love how they treat people. They partner with the community. They're doing all the right things. And then maybe you have option C that's, just far off, or maybe they have more money, maybe not as much as, option A, but, these parts of your values are there, and you may be able to accomplish your vision a little bit faster. Whatever that thing will do, or whatever it is that you want to do, those things are always going to be present. And if you don't identify your values, you'll get into something without realizing that your values have been compromised. And then sometimes it can be hard to get out, because especially when you connect with something that can help you get to your vision and can help you to achieve your vision, once you kind of get a taste of it, it becomes more difficult to turn around. So it's better to know your values and know, oh no, my values are being compromised. Let me get out of this. So, and just remember, any person or company or organization who loves you or cares about you and who are being true and authentic will not ask you to compromise your values. I don't care if it's your favorite pastor. I don't care if it's your favorite company. I don't care if it's a person you've seen on TV 1,000 times. I don't care if it's somebody who drives the nicest car. I don't care if it seems like they have everything on your list. If they ask you to compromise your values, and it's just not it. It's just not it. I can't even get the words out. It's just not it. Right? And really, it's just a demonstration that they're more concerned with the outcome for themselves than you and your destiny and what you're supposed to be doing in this world. So that's a good thing, and a good way and a good test of knowing whether or not something is making you compromise your values is when they're around and they're in that situation. And while you're in that situation, does it bring about the fruit of the Spirit? Meaning, do you feel love? Do you feel joy? Do you feel at peace? Is there patience? Is there kindness? Is there goodness? Is there faithfulness? Is there gentleness? Is there self-control? If none of those things are present in that organization, in the relationship, in the whatever, if you can't experience those things in that church, in wherever, then most likely you're in a place that's compromising your values. You just may not have discovered it all fully yet. And just because something is socially acceptable doesn't mean it doesn't compromise your values. So for instance, one thing that is socially acceptable right now is high levels of criticizing and just being really ugly to people. Like, it is completely socially acceptable. There's been times where I've posted things and people have said the nastiest things to me in comments. Now, I don't respond nasty because I realize that that person would never say that to me to my face, but it's become socially acceptable to say the most harsh and mean things to a person. But just because everyone does it doesn't mean it doesn't compromise your values. And eventually you're going to have to eat the fruit of that thing. God tells us not to be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. So even when people are going in on someone, even when I first want to comment, be like, yeah, girl, yeah, no, no. And then like, oh, hold on, no. First off, what is this going to do to this person? Because there's a real person behind this. This is not a bot. The second thing is what is saying that's going to do to me 10 years from now, if someone were to go and screenshot this, this comment, which I'm sure there's probably stuff like this from my past anyway, but how would I feel about it? So, and that's just with anything. That's just one example, but just because something is socially acceptable doesn't mean it doesn't compromise your values. So this is how, and this is a short list of someone's personal values. And so, like I said, if you want to get in and, the workbook and all this other stuff, you can either DM me or join the group or whatever, and I'll help you work through, well, you and the other group members work through this on more of a personal and direct level. And I'll have that. It's in my profile, or I'll link it in the video if you're watching this on YouTube, what have you. So one of the first one is achievements, right? Do you value achievement? Do you value adventure? Autonomy, that's a big one of mine, right? Beauty, caring. Do you value being challenged? If you're someone who values being challenged, it is best for you not to get into a position that's breezy. Just because someone who likes a challenge, and I'm like that. Once I get into, work that seems like it's just, most of the time I'm getting out of there soon. Once it becomes to where I've conquered, there's nothing else for me to do that makes sense, I'm getting out of there. Communication, community, compassion, competence, competition, cooperation, right? Now notice competition is one to where someone else may be really like autonomy. So if you value competition, you better go to some place that has a strong spirit of competition, because otherwise you're compromising your values by being there, and you're going to be not at peace being in that position. Courage, curiosity, decisiveness, dependability, determination, discipline, diversity, eco-awareness. Both of those two are big. All three of those are big for me. Discipline, diversity, and eco-awareness. I don't like going anywhere where everyone's the same. I get so bored. If everyone's from the same place, they look the same, they talk the same, they think the same, they watch the same shows, they went to the same schools, they did everything, I want to be there. To me, a lack of diversity shows that that space is too common. I already know that I'm dealing with people that are very limited with their ideas and their experiences, because they can't push back past whatever's not like themselves. Eco-awareness, economic security, effectiveness, equality, excellence, fairness, family, flexibility, freedom, friendship, fun, having a global view, growth, happiness, harmony, health, honesty, right? If you value honesty, then make sure you're not in rooms full of liars. Hope, humility, independence, inner harmony, innovation, integrity, intelligence, justice, leadership. There's so many on here. Learning, love, loyalty, open-mindedness, order, passionate, patience, power, productivity, quality, right? Reason or thought, recognition, relationships, respect, responsibility, risk-taking, security, service to others, simplicity, spirituality and faith, strength, teamwork, trust, truth, uniqueness, valued by others, variety, wealth, and wisdom. And so what you'll do is you'll go through this list, and I think I'll post it or send out the workbook or something at some point later this week. Go through this list and really identify what you value. What's important to you? What will you do? What won't you do? Right? And make sure that before you start your venture, that the how you plan on doing it, which is your values, is built into the vision. So you're like, hey, I want to be married. I want my family life to be like this. But also a value of mine is humility. So as I'm building this, I'm going to do it from a space of humility and not lording over people, not pushing people, not doing this. Or, you can even build eco-friendliness and eco-awareness with this. Hey, My family, not only are they going to be blah, 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 but we're also going to be ones that, don't terrorize the earth while we're doing it. Or I'm going to be very caring with it. Or we're going to focus on discipline. Whatever that is, you need to build that into what you're doing, and to make sure that whenever you go on this journey, that your values aren't being compromised. And so, all in all, I hope what this has done is helped you determine what it is that you want and why you want it. Sometimes we think our vision is actually the plan and the goal. The vision is when you play the long game, right? And the vision is, hey, this is what I want my financial life to look like based on my gifts, based on my values, based on my experiences, based on my largest area of impact. We did that last week. We talked about impact. You can go back in the videos and back on everything, and you can understand how to identify your personal impact. And then based on that, this is what I need to do. Sometimes we think the vision is the job, when really a lot of times our goal and our plans and our activities is the vehicle we use to get to the vision. And the vision is what keeps you from jumping out of the car. So guys, I hope you take this and you run with it and you apply it to your life, because I promise you, the moment you get on the path of executing on your vision and breathing it and making it a reality and bringing it out from that dead place, bringing it back out of the grave, you're going to feel like you're living again. You're going to start living, and you're going to start living more abundantly. So thank you guys so much. Again, my name's Yannick, and there's a couple of different ways, if you want help with this, that you can get in contact with me. The first way that you can get in contact with me is by emailing me. It's easy. You can email me at info@yannickwilliams.com. The best way, my friend, is to either join my community. It's right here, right? It's called the New Luminaries. You can just scan the QR code or go to thenewluminary.com and join the group, apply to join the group, and go from there. Or you can go on my website, www.yannickwilliams.com, and you can request to have a power session. You can request a little mini session. It's not little, it's great. But you can meet with me for about 30 minutes, things like that. And yeah, you can do that and join the website and schedule everything that you need to know about me and how to get in contact with me is on my website. That's there, www.yannickwilliams.com. So I hope that you guys have an amazing day. I hope that you take this, whether you're watching it live, whether you're watching the replay, whether you're watching a clip from this, and you apply it to your life and just take hold of what God has for you, friend. It's going to be amazing.